This evening, top stories. First up, Cuba pulls its doctors, but whose decision was it really? Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony sets the record straight at the end of a 40-year medical partnership. Then, a driver's reckless move caught on camera goes viral and lands him in handcuffs. The social media video that led police straight to his door. Plus, a teenage motorcyclist is dead after a horrific crash at the East Bank of Essequibo. Tonight, questions about speed, helmets, and who is to be blamed. Meanwhile, 3 vessels, 3 communities, $440 million. The massive rehabilitation plan that could transform river travel across Guyana. And oil prices spike as Middle East tensions rattle markets across Asia. What it could mean for your wallet. All these stories and more coming up right here. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for March 10th, 2026. I'm Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony has clarified that the Cuban government, not Guyana, decided to withdraw its medical brigade from the country earlier this year. Speaking during an interview on Monday, the minister said the Cuban authorities opted to end the arrangement in February following discussions between the two governments, bringing to a close a partnership that had lasted more than 4 decades.
We have been engaging the Cuban authorities, and they choose to terminate or withdraw the Cuban doctors who were here. So that's the first thing I want to make clear.
Dr. Anthony explained that despite the withdrawal, Cuban doctors, nurses, and technicians are still welcome to work in Guyana once they meet the requirements of the country's medical and nursing regulatory bodies. He noted that several Cuban medical professionals, including some who were part of the previous brigade, have already taken up employment within the public health system.
We have offered to Cuban doctors and nurses and technicians, if they want to come to Guyana, they can come to Guyana, and once they're properly qualified and certified by our medical authorities here, medical council, nursing council, and so forth, once they meet those requirements, then we'll be able to offer them a job. And quite a number of persons have come, and we have offered them that job. So they're working in the public system, so we don't have a problem once they're qualified.
The minister also pointed out that Guyana has been expanding its local healthcare workforce through increased training programs. He said nearly 800 nurses are expected to graduate by June this year, which will help strengthen the country's health services.
We have been expanding our healthcare system, and so we've also started to expand training. So a lot of the people who are on the brigade were nurses. And through our training program, we are compensating for those that would have been withdrawn. This year, for example, because 3 years ago we started a registered nursing program, and by June of this year we'll be graduating close to 800 persons, and they would come into service as soon as they have graduated successfully.
The issue has drawn public debate after a group of citizens wrote to President Dr. Mohamed Irfan, urging the government to restore the Cuban medical brigade. Meanwhile, the government maintains that foreign medical professionals can continue to work in Guyana under local labor and regulatory laws. On a different note, a traffic violator was arrested after a video circulating on social media allegedly showed him driving dangerously along the East Coast Demerara Public Road, forcing other motorists to take evasive action to avoid a collision. Investigations revealed that motorcar PAL 3206, driven by a 30-year-old man, was traversing east along the southern carriageway from Betterfuakin towards Triumph when the driver allegedly breached the one-way system, forcing several motorists to take evasive action to avoid a collision. The driver, an information technology technician at Martinsville, Monrepo, was arrested at his home on Monday and is currently in custody at the Betterfuakin police station. He is expected to be charged with dangerous driving and breach of the one-way system and will appear before the Sparendam Magistrates Court on Wednesday. Investigations are ongoing. A teenage motorcyclist is dead after a collision with a minibus on the East Bank of Essequibo, raising fresh concerns about speeding and road safety. Dale Jarvis has the details on the fatal crash.
A tragic collision on the East Bank Essequibo has claimed the life of a teenage motorcyclist, renewing concerns about speeding and road safety. Police are investigating the fatal accident that occurred around 7:20 p.m. on Monday on Barnwell Public Road, East Bank Essequibo, which claimed the life of a 16-year-old motorcyclist, Angel Manchan of Ruby Back Dam, East Bank Essequibo. According to police, the teenager was riding a motorcycle CR487 with a 19-year-old pillion rider when it collided with a minibus BAG 2484, driven by a 58-year-old man from Edinburgh, West Coast, Demerara. Preliminary investigations indicate that the minibus was proceeding east along the northern side of the road when the motorcycle, traveling in the opposite direction at an alleged fast rate, ended up on the northern side and collided with the front side of the minibus. Both the rider and pillion passenger, who were reportedly not wearing safety helmets, were thrown from the motorcycle and sustained injuries. They were taken to the Dekendrain Regional Hospital, where Manchan was pronounced dead on arrival. The pillion rider remains in critical condition. The minibus driver is in police custody, assisting with investigations. Police said a breathalyzer test found no alcohol, and both vehicles have been impounded pending examination. Investigations are continuing. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jarvis.
Thanks, Dale. Stick around when we return. Government urges allottees to take possession of house lots as signing exercise accelerates. And food safety training program launched in Region 4.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Healing streams. A moment of love, a moment of grace, a moment of His power. You can put your hand wherever you want this power to be manifested.
You're free. No, I can't jump. I can't walk.
Healing streams this March would be something like the world has never seen before. It's a day of power. Get up and get ready.
Oh, beautiful Guyana, to all our wonderful Guyanese people across the country and around the world, you are warmly invited to live healing stream services taking place from Friday 13th to Sunday 15th of March 2026. Experience powerful prayer, uplifting worship, and a message of healing and hope, all from the comfort of your home. Join us live on YouTube or Facebook and be part of this life-changing spiritual experience. For more information or prayer requests, contact Sister Bernice at 695-0942. Don't miss it. Your healing may be just one prayer away. Welcome back. Thousands of passengers and businesses that depend on Ghana's river and coastal transport network are expected to benefit from a major rehabilitation program targeting 3 key vessels at a cost of more than $440 million. The works will focus on the MV Malaysia, MV Barima, and MV Hercules, which serve as critical transport links between coastal and hinterland communities. Rehabilitation of the 70-meter passenger and cargo vessel MV Malaysia, which operates between regions 1 and 4, is estimated at $199.3 million. The MV Barima, which services the Georgetown to Port Kaituma route and supports communities such as Mabaruma and Kumake in the Northwest District, will undergo upgrades costing about $124.5 million. Meanwhile, the MV Hercules, operating from the Perica-Stelling along the Essequibo River to destinations including Bartica, Supanam, Leguan, and Wikenham, will see rehabilitation works valued at $124.2 million. The Ministry of Public Works, through the Transport and Harbors Department, has invited contractors to submit bids for the docking and overhaul work. Once completed, the upgrades are expected to improve efficiency along key river routes, reducing travel time and strengthening the movement of passengers and goods to riverine and hinterland communities. In other news, the government, through the Ministry of Housing, is urging landlords to take possession of their house lots and begin construction as it speeds up the processing of agreements of sale and certificates of title across multiple housing schemes. Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell explained that the Central Housing and Planning Authority will conduct signing exercises over a 2.5-month period ending in April. Recent exercises focused on Lusignan Phase 2, where over 250 allottees completed their agreements. At the same time, Lusignan Phase 1, Good Hope Phase 2, and Berbice number 75 and 76 villages have also begun the process. Additional signings are scheduled in Friesland, Wales, Renta Catarina, and Leonora West, with 8 new housing areas expected to benefit from the accelerated program.
Yet to come would be Friesland. Now, Friesland in Wales on the west bank of Demerara, so the 19th, 21st, and 24th. We have specific dates set aside for the signing for the agreement of sale, as well the processing of title for that area. Likewise, Laurentia Catarina on the 11th, 14th, or 16th of April. That's in the new month. And then before the month of April is complete, we also have Lenora West will be added. So you have in total 8 areas, new areas, for which we'll be signing between now and to the end of April.
Minister Crowell encouraged allottees to take occupancy and seek guidance from the ministry surveyors if they are unsure of their lot locations.
Now that we are signing the agreement of sale as well for the processing of the certificate of title, I also want to emphasize occupancy as well as persons to take ownership of the land that has been identified. We have our surveyors department. If you need additional information as to where your land is, if you have not seen your land in any of those areas that I just identified, because it means you have access, and that's why we have proceeded to sign and we have ownership. You can engage our survey department, and we want you to take ownership as well to commence the process of construction.
The government, through the Ministry of Housing, aims to construct 40,000 houses over the next 5 years, building on more than 50,000 house lots allocated between 2020 and 2025. Moving on, in a move to strengthen food safety and protect consumers, the government has launched a training program in Region 4 to equip farmers, vendors, and food handlers with the knowledge needed to ensure safer food production and handling practices. The initiative runs from March 9 to March 12. It's being conducted through collaboration among the Guyana Food Safety Authority, the Ministry of Agriculture, the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute, and the Ministry of Health. The training targets farmers, agro-processors, vendors, food handlers, and other stakeholders within the food supply chain. Participants will receive guidance on good agricultural practices, safe food handling, hygiene production, and proper storage techniques to reduce contamination risks and improve food quality. Officials says the program will also help improve the marketability and reliability of locally produced food, supporting national efforts to strengthen food safety from farm to table as the country continues expanding its agricultural sector. Don't go away after the break. Nigeria's security crisis, communities torn apart by violence and kidnapping, and China's demographic crisis. Government plans to reverse low marriage and birth rates.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Healing streams. A moment of love, a moment of grace, a moment of His power. You can put your hand wherever you want this power to be manifested.
You're free. No, I can't jump. I can't walk.
Healing streams this March would be something like the world has never seen before.
Get up and
Get ready.
Oh, beautiful Guyana, to all our wonderful Guyanese people across the country and around the world, you are warmly invited to live healing stream services taking place from Friday 13th to Sunday 15th of March 2026. Experience powerful prayer, uplifting worship, and a message of healing and hope, all from the comfort of your home. Join us live on YouTube or Facebook and be part of this life-changing spiritual experience. For more information or prayer requests, contact Sister Bernice at 695-0942. Don't miss it. Your healing may be just one prayer away. Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I'm Dominic Kittins. Tonight, Trinidad and Tobago declares a state of emergency amid rising security concerns. Violence intensifies in northern Nigeria as armed gangs target rural communities. Middle East tension push oil prices higher, shaking Asian markets. And China faces a deepening demographic shift. We begin in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has announced a state of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago, citing security concerns and the need to protect public safety. The move has drawn criticism from the opposition, which argues that the emergency power could restrict free speech. Persad-Bissessar defended the regulations, noting that they were revised after legal challenges to earlier provisions under the previous administration that were considered overly broad and potentially unconstitutional. A security crisis in northern Nigeria is tearing rural communities apart. Dozens of civilians and soldiers have been killed in recent months as armed gangs raid villages and kidnap civilians. Al Jazeera Ahmed Idris reports.
In Nigeria's north, the sound of gunfire has replaced the quiet of rural life. For many here, the pattern of displacement and killings feels painfully familiar. Along highways and in isolated villages, kidnappings for ransom continue to tear families apart.
We are constantly on the run. Men and women aren't spared. You can't even produce food to feed your family.
An estimated 10,000 Nigerians are killed every year, just as thousands more are kidnapped for ransom. American troops have been deployed in Nigeria with the government's cooperation. Yet despite their presence, armed groups continue to raid, kill, and loot.
Between that December and February that we are, a lot of attacks have occurred. In fact, on a monthly basis, almost about 1,000 Nigerians are being killed. The same thing happened in January. It's repeating itself in February. So that pressure is on the Americans. A lot of Nigerians are beginning to ask the questions, why is it that in spite of the presence of the Americans, this attack? So that would be a litmus test for the American state to show that its presence would actually help Nigeria.
The attacks are fueled by the hundreds of millions of dollars the armed gangs collect every year. The government denied paying ransom. Al Jazeera's Mehdi Hassan interviewed a spokesman to the Nigerian president.
I know of our government's effort in dealing with that insecurity. If you have a little understanding of the nature and the boundary and the geographical measurement of Nigeria and the tendency for insecurity to come in, then you will understand that we're fighting a hydra-headed insecurity situation.
Security analysts say kidnapping is now an entrenched criminal economy, where ransom payments fund weapons, logistics, and recruitment for the next strike.
If these elements know when they carry out those attacks, they would receive ransom, then they are not going to stop.
Big cities like Abuja have been spared major attacks for some time now, but rural communities remain vulnerable. Security analysts believe troop numbers and equipment are inadequate to protect every Nigerian village. But most of all, they say successive governments have failed to address the root causes: poverty, corruption, and governance failure.
For many Nigerians, security promises are measured not in speeches, but in whether the next night passes without the sound of gunfire. But for now, the gunfire, burials, and abductions continue. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Abuja, Nigeria.
Soaring oil prices fueled by the conflict in the Middle East have shaken Asian markets. Al Jazeera's Rob McBride reports.
As the oil price surged, stock markets in Asia plummeted. Worst affected were Asia's industrial giants, Japan and South Korea, that rely heavily on imported energy, with Tokyo's Nikkei index losing more than 5%. And South Korea's government putting a cap on domestic fuel prices for the first time in decades, trying to steady fraying nerves.
Given that's difficult to predict how the situation will unfold, our government must prepare proactive measures with a heightened sense of urgency, keeping even the worst-case scenario in mind.
Asian oil producers like Malaysia and Indonesia have been shielded in part from the sudden rise in crude prices, but across the region there are fears about the effects of this conflict on interconnected economies and industries. With the ripples of this war spreading far beyond the Middle East, there are growing concerns about the wider impact, such as on Asia's high-tech manufacturing sector. And then for everyone is the looming fear of inflation.
And certainly economic growth will slow and the inflation will pick up. And this is the worst case scenario we saw when the US and Israel started to attack Iran, and everything is getting out of control now.
And should the oil price stubbornly remain above the $100 mark, the question seems to be how economic damage and higher prices for ordinary consumers can be averted. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Kuala Lumpur.
China is undergoing a profound demographic shift. Marriage rates are falling, birth rates at record lows, and more people are living alone. Al Jazeera's Katrina Yu reports.
For generations in China, it was common for several members of one family to live under the same roof. But Beijing resident Cecily Huang is part of a growing group. They're young, urban, and living alone. Single-person households now account for around 1 in 5 homes in China.
I think our generation of women are more educated, capable, and economically independent, so we have the ability to live alone.
Living alone doesn't always mean being isolated. Cecily has an active social life and travels frequently. She's proud of her independence, but for the Chinese government, the trend presents a challenge. Fewer marriages and births mean fewer workers paying into the social welfare system, as the elderly population continues to grow. By 2035, the number of people aged 60 and over is expected to exceed 450 million, roughly 1/3 of the population. That would give China one of the highest proportions of elderly people anywhere in the world. Finding ways to slow population decline and manage its consequences is high on the agenda at this year's National People's Congress. Last year, Beijing rolled out a nationwide childcare subsidy and announced plans to make childbirth free under state insurance. Some provinces have gone even further, offering cash incentives for new parents. But many experts say the measures don't come close to offsetting the cost of raising a child, especially in major cities. Cecily says she didn't plan to live alone, but prefers it to being in a relationship just due to financial or social pressures.
Our parent generation just focus on to being a partner with each other to survive. But I think our demand or our lifestyle is not just survive. It's more about having a lifestyle we want to, because China is not poor anymore. And now you have your own space and you can really discover, explore more about yourself.
If the right partner comes along, Cecily says her situation could change. Until then, she's content to go her own way. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Thanks, Dominique. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day weather forecast. And that's it for the two headline news for this Tuesday evening. So we take our leave. We invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.